Hello and welcome to Saved, Not Scammed, where we expose manipulation, uplift the truth, and where we always remember Jesus didn't need an upline, so neither do we. My name is Kayla and I am a self-proclaimed baby Christian. Why do I bring up Christianity when I'm talking about the scam-a-lams? It's because lots of scammers like to use the word of the Lord, the Holy Bible, as a way to literally manipulate people into joining their multi-level marketing pyramid scheme, in my opinion. These companies rely on 99% of the participants, the whole bottom of that pyramid, to be buying in. They have no downline, they have nothing, but they're giving. And we have facts to prove it. I don't care how much you love your product. I don't care who you know that was successful. I don't care. Because a majority of people who want to better their lives, make side income, just doing the best they can, trying to find something in this economy of all times to make a better life for themselves. And it preys on those people in order to make the company in the top 1% richer and nobody else. Check the FTC, link will be down below. Now today we are covering Norwex. I'm going to give you a little tiny backstory as to why we're covering this company. It is crucial. Stick around, please. In this video, we got stuff to do, okay? We got a checklist, all right? We have a couple things to cover. Number one, how this entire company was recently thrust into viral light, how that happened, the implications. Then we're going to look at their income disclosure statement. It is quite possibly the most disgusting income statement I've ever seen. They honestly might as well not have one. That is how bad it is. But that's okay because they gave me just enough information for me to create an income disclosure with this mathematical brain of mine to give to you guys. Is it all estimated? Yes. Is it my own opinion? Yes. Everything said in this video is. But it's just enough information for us to snag some little bits out and create our own hypothetical income disclosure for the company. And boy, you're going to want to see it. Okay. And while doing research, I came across one of their top leaders. And this top leader, I didn't even expect it, but happens to be a Christian. And boy, does she make it known on her social media. Ooh, it's a treat. So we're going to react to one of her videos as well. So stay tuned, buckle in, blip. Bloop. Subscribe if you haven't already. I recently took a little sneaky peek at my analytics and it says 50% of people watching are new, which I thought was incredible. So thank you so much for being here. I just want to put it out there that I make this content specifically for consumer protection, specifically for the 99+% of people who are hurt in a multitude of ways by joining these companies. This is to protect them. Do I think the 1% are the worst people in the world and can't be redeemed? Absolutely not. Okay, that is not for me to determine, decide, etc. But I will call out the behavior, especially when they're using faith manipulation to hurt lots of people. Okay. So I'm scrolling through my Instagram as one does, and I come across this heartfelt video. There's a father and a child trying to get on an airplane. Turns out, child needs a ticket of their own, and guess how much that ticket is? $700 holler. And this is all brand new information to the father. He's like, I thought I was under 3. They're going to be on my lap the whole time. Like, well, what are you talking about? Once he heard that ticket price, he's like, I can't do that. I mean, $700, that's a lot of money to fork over. And then a lady behind them overheard, a lovely rich lady behind them heard. And out of the goodness of her heart, these are complete strangers to her, right? She says, let me cover the ticket. That's not okay. I want you guys to be able to get where you need to go. Wow, beautiful, wonderful. Internet sleuths were like, we gotta find this lady. She sounds like a wonderful, amazing person. They find her. And as I'm watching this video and I'm listening, it says she's a part of Norwex. Not only a part of it, she is a co-founder. So we've got an executive of a company that chose the business model in which people are required to lose money in order for the company to win, being praised as someone who is the best thing ever. She has gotten wealthy off of taking, and hurting, and hurting. So love that she has a good heart. And of course, Norwex posted and was like, oh my God, yeah, we love Debbie. She's the best. Okay, they're getting a bunch of free advertisement right now. And boy, were the comments popping off. People were like, oh my gosh, can't wait to purchase Norwex. This is amazing. Definitely want to support her. And then you had people like me said, this thing's so cutesy. Sorry, not sorry. Savannah Marie was the first comment that I saw, and I said, Savannah, beautifully said. Let's read what she had to say. Can we not praise a woman who runs a company that has scammed thousands of people? The money she used to pay for this ticket came off the back of people she exploited. Norwex is, in my opinion, a pyramid scheme. Her frontline workers basically work for free while she takes in the fruits of their labors. It's really nice that she paid it forward in this way, but knowing where she actually gets her money from, it's a drop in the bucket. Once again, gorgeous. I replied because I'm seeing lots of people who are like, eye roll, who cares, it's a pyramid scheme, they sell great products. First off, I have microfiber cloths. They do the same dang thing. I've got water, I've got vinegar, I've got baking soda, and I've got cloths. We are a half eco-friendly, half have all the chemicals in the whole wide world house, okay? Saying you may love the products, you may love Debbie's act of kindness, but you can also realize that Norwex's business model, based off their compensation plan, which I made sure to look up all of that information before writing this, has a heavy focus on recruitment. Recruitment focus is what determines a pyramid scheme, not whether they sell a cool product. Two things can be true at once. These business models are predatory and rely on a large downline that makes no money or lost money in order to stay in business and pay their tippity top earners, which appears to be only 0.05% of this company based off of Norwex's own income disclosure statements, trip earners. Now, why am I basing it off of trip earners? Oh, well, let's check out their income disclosure statement. Y'all are not going to believe this nonsense. Now, this is the 2022 Norwex Income Disclosure Statement USA. Where's the graph? Typically, there's a graph that lists off all the names of their ranks, what their median or average income is, and the percent of the company. That's what we're looking for. That's what we want. No, Instead, it gives you highlights, 2022 highlights. Even though they call this an income disclosure statement, they say consultants earn 35% commission on their products sold directly to customers. Okay, good to know. Average U.S. customer spends $90 per order. Who cares? What does a customer have to do with how much money that they make? Because you're not giving us the number of customers that they actually have or the number of customers per person. Okay? Average party sales for U.S. consultants were $667 in U.S. dollars. Once again, there's no other details that allows us to draw any conclusions from that. Team coordinators averaged monthly party sales of $1,520. Now, we love that a monthly sale can get you that much, but we're not told whether or not they're able to consistently have parties every single month. So, once again, that information is not pertinent. Sales leaders and above average monthly party sales of $3,253. Now we get some good information. The average total reported income from U.S. consultants was $915 per year. Wow, that sounds like a lot. And average can always sound like a lot. If you have 3 people, one made 0, one made 0, and the next one person made 100, it'll look like everyone made $33. Fantastic. Love that. But if you look at the median, it would tell you $0. That's showing when you line them all up, what is actually in the middle. How much are the mass majority of people making? That's going to give you the best tell because averages are skewed by these really big outliers. It tells us that a part of those consultants, 19% of them only purchased product for personal consumption. 17% of consultants did not order products and earned no income. I'm very interested about the 19%, how they determine that. Is there a little button you click that says, I'm only here for personal? Or are they just assuming based off of what? Their inability to sell stuff? That doesn't mean anything. So that's a little concerning to me. The remaining 64% of consultants had an average earning that was considerably higher. So they're saying if you take that 19 and 17% out, obviously you have a smaller group, and that's when you divide the total compensation that we have paid out, you're going to get a larger average. However, that still doesn't tell us anything because once again, averages can be skewed. Now it says a free starter kit is provided to those who achieve $1,000 in sales within 30 days or $2,000 within 90 days. But then it goes to tell us that this starter kit is valued at $250. They can put whatever values they want on their products, but the cost to the consumer is $200 for the standard starter kit. If you are unable to make that $1,000 or $2,000, they just bill you according to their compensation plan. They just send you a little boop, there's $200 since you weren't able to make $1,000. This was the cherry on top to provide me the information I needed of an average of 116,876 Norwex consultants globally over the past 5 years. About 648 achieved the incentive trip each year. One thing that they do include that is good is they said income numbers presented do not take into account actual or anticipated expenses that consultants incur while operating their business. Common expenses may include but are not limited to travel, office supplies, license fees, insurance premiums, and legal or accounting fees. So let's get down what I created based off the information that we were given. And I did a couple of different things to research this. I looked up, most importantly, their compensation plan, and I did a ton of math. This is all the math I did on my daughter and I's hangman. I don't know if you can tell. Bloop, bloop. Some of the information we know, they have 116,876 reps with an average of $915 per year, meaning that we can calculate the amount of compensation that was paid out to their reps, which is $106,941,000. Once again, 915 times 116,876. Number 2, 648 on average qualified for the incentive trip. This is 0.5% of their reps. I want to also put out there that their trips have like different stages. So it's not saying which stage where they're at. It just says that they qualified for their stage. So we have that information knowing that most likely the tippity top reps are in the 0.5% of the company. We know that the highest rank, the tippity top of their compensation plan, which is called Senior Vice President Sales Leader, requires that 600 active, engaged representatives in their downline. What does that mean, engaged and active to Norwex? It means that those people are selling $250 per month. Goodness. It is only feasible that a third of the people that qualify for the trip are senior VPs, since their downline would exceed 3 times over the amount of reps that they have. If you said 648 people had 600 reps, you're now equaling over 300,000 reps. They don't have that many. They only have 116. So there couldn't possibly be that many uplines. We can only conceive, based off of the number 116,876, that they have only a third of the people that went onto the trip in the top rank. Now, specifically, it doesn't say you have to be a certain rank in order to go on the trip, but it does make sense based off of all their little point systems and all the things you have to do to get miles that the tippity top would be the most qualified to be able to go onto the incentive trips. So we're going to go with that assumption in our mind, knowing that that might not necessarily be the case. And I just want to thank you guys so much for sticking around with me while we go through this math, because this is vital information. The fact that they're not including this is insane to me, that we have to make our own conclusions based off of the information they provided. If they had just come out with an income disclosure statement that didn't look like poo-poo, then I wouldn't have to be doing this. But instead, I'm stuck drawing my own conclusions based off of the information that they did give. Norwex, that's on you, Buki. That's on you. Now we can assume that 0.18% of the company are senior VPs based off of that requiring of 600. We also calculated the rough minimums of annual commission based off the 5% comp rate that they pay out and the $250 a month to be active and the number of reps required per position. So now we're getting to our graph. Remember, how we're getting there is we're saying, okay, $250 is required per month in order to be active. And this rank requires this many people to be active. The 5%, and there is an assumption that they could have more people, and that's why we're using the 5% commission, because technically per downline, they get like 2%, 1%, 3%, 5%. It's different per where they're at in their downline. So I'm using the 5%, but I'm also using the minimum amount of reps that they have. They could have a ton more than that. They also could have a ton more personal sales. There's a ton of information that, of course, we don't know. We can only draw our best conclusion based off the information we were given. We're going to start from the tippity top of the senior vice president sales leader because that's how I was able to figure out the rest of the information. So based off the information that I've already discussed, we are roughly estimating that 0.18, I just rounded it up to 2%, are in the position of senior vice president sales leaders. If they need 600 reps and they have to personally sell $1,000 in order to make commission in personal sales, they are looking at an estimated annual income of $94,200. Okay, roughly six figures. Cool, awesome. Once again, that is 0.18% of the company. That is nobody in comparison to the literal thousands of reps that they have. And the rest of the math was the exact same. Looking at their comp plan, how many of their reps needed it, and what's the estimated annual earnings. The percentages were based off of roughly how many can you have in that company with the 116,000 as their total, based off of the number of downline, assuming that everyone falls under a downline somewhere. So that means that someone up there somewhere is an executive vice president, blah, 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 blah. Okay? Very quickly, I was able to only get to 2% of the company. And after that, when I take the amount of money that they've made based off of their own compensation plan, deduct that from the overall commission that they paid out, which was $106 million, if you remember from beforehand, that leaves the total compensation divided by all of the reps that they have left, leaves an estimated annual earnings for the bottom four ranks at $206. The cost of just one of their kits, their starter kit, is $200, putting them at nearly $0 once expenses are calculated in 98% of the company. I hope that made sense on how I got there. Once again, this is a rough estimation based off the information that they gave us, but I wanted to meet a silver, diamond, platinum, such and such. Now, Debbie Bolton does kind of position herself as a public figure. She is definitely on Instagram. She's definitely bright faces on the compensation plan, meaning she green-lighted this bad boy. She said, absolutely, let's ensure that people have to recruit people to recruit people to recruit people, which we know is the sign of a pyramid scheme. According to the FTC, it's not what products they have. Okay, it's not on whether they sell direct to consumer and they share to sell and just share, it's so easy. No, it's whether or not there's a recruitment aspect. We can see very clearly from their compensation plan that there is a ton of recruitment required for you to get to those top steps of the company and actually make a livable wage. Because once again, let's go back to that income disclosure that we created. We have, even if you're in the top 1% of the company at $33,000, that is less than the McDonald's workers in California make full time. That is not a lot of money. And you have to be available 24/7. You have to literally convert every single one of your social media platforms, every single one of your conversations, every single one of your relationships into a money-making opportunity. And it's sold to people in a way that says, well, you get to work from home, you get to, be home with your babies, whatever. But they're also not saying you have to be available 24/7 when people pop up. They're also not saying that you could be let go at any moment if Norwex chooses to drop you or to change to an affiliate model. So there's lots of information here that is not being told to us. But I wanted to see a leader in there. I wanted to see one of these senior vice president sales blue blue blahs, okay? And I found one. And not only was she at the tippity top, but she also is a question. She's a question. And she is thumping hard, okay? She is boop, 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 thumping. Not only is she selling Norwex products, not only is she selling the business opportunity, but she also has created her own grift that I think she is highly unqualified to be doing. She's also written a book, a question book. Could you believe it? That was crazy. So let me introduce you to Sonia Eccles. Sonia positions herself as not only a Norwex top leader, but also an author. She's written a book. Cool. She also says she's a success coach. Interesting. And then she says she is a motivational speaker. She has 11.9 subscribers on YouTube, 6.6 thousand followers on Facebook, and 2.1 thousand on her Instagram. And she had reposted the Debbie story and said, "This beautiful story truly represents the heart of my friend Debbie." Is the heart of your friend stamping her face on the compensation plan, which requires recruitment, which we know is a determining factor of whether or not something is a pyramid scheme? Interesting. And do we know that pyramid schemes are extremely harmful to women? So although you're not selling a toxic product, blah, 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 you are still harming people. Sonia, Debbie, girly pops. Not okay. Not in my book. That's on you, Bookie. Sonia says that she is helping you navigate wellness and finances empowered by the Holy Spirit. Ding, 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 ding. That's what we need to hear over here on Save Not Scam to go, ooh, what are you saying to your reps to use their faith as a tool for manipulation to get them to join your pyramid scheme? In my opinion, Sonia, I'd love to know. Well, we're going to find out. Let's watch a video of hers, shall we? Very quickly, when I was watching this video initially, I'm getting ready and I'm listening to it. I want to find a good video of hers, so it's not going to be complete blind react. But I was very confused. I was like, what is she talking about her business? And what? That doesn't really have anything to do with Norwex. And boy, are we in for a wild ride with Sonia and the stuff that she puts out there. So stay with me as we follow Sonia in her completely unqualified, in my opinion, take on, can emotional and belief work make a difference in my life? That's the name of the video. This video has 60 views. It was posted 5 months ago.
My name is Sonia Eccles, and if we haven't met in person yet, I can't wait to connect with you. So I wanted to do this video to share a little bit about my journey of emotional healing. And as a Christian, I feel like so much of what I have learned in this space has allowed me to unpack baggage that was never mine to carry, and it has allowed my health to improve. And I used to just assume that this is just who I am. I just naturally feel anxious or worried or sometimes just depressed and fearful. All of these things I just assumed were how I was wired, who I was. And so
right off the bat, she has a beautiful, welcoming voice, welcoming smile, stunning eyes. Once again, she's a beautiful woman. These are all beautiful ladies. I want to be very clear. I think all ladies are stunning, gorgeous, beautiful. Okay? I don't care if you're selling an MLM or not. You are stunning. However, your actions might not be so cutesy. Okay? And we're going to talk about it. Now, she is bringing up some, what do they call it? Spark words, some ding 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 words. Anxiety, depression, okay? Now, I may have talked about this before, but I will say it here. I was diagnosed, over a decade ago, okay, with depression and anxiety, all the things. A lot of it stemmed from my father having cancer and also from some severe car accidents I've been in, making that kind of flight or fight response, just not communicating correctly with my brain. I am now on some great medication, if you couldn't tell. I'm doing great. But my depression and anxiety was debilitating. It was to a point where it was affecting my normal everyday life. It was very, tiring to deal with. I have a big, huge spot in my heart for anyone who is dealing with anxiety and depression. It is a big thing to deal with and unpack. And even after I was on a great medication, I then used alcohol as a means to self-medicate and numb and not feel hard things. So even as early as a year ago, am I in a better space, a better mind space. Not only did I have to change medications multiple times, I had to go to intensive therapy, counseling, therapy, rehab that has therapy all day long pretty much. And I had to do a lot of personal work in order to put myself in a good place. However, just because someone's experienced anxiety and depression and maybe gotten past that does not make them qualified to be telling others how to get past it. So when she started going in depth about certain things, I was a little disturbed.
Wired who I was. And so when I discovered that there was a simple way to unpack baggage from all the decades of my life that I had been hauling around unknowingly, old belief systems, unhelpful emotions from traumas, big T traumas, little t trauma, drama, just sicknesses, all the things. Our subconscious is like a master computer. It is phenomenal. It logs everything. So our conscious.
Now, what do you bet she recommends you to go seek professional help? Yeah. She doesn't. Not that I heard. Fact, she even talks out against therapy. Guys, this is crazy. I can't. Let's let her continue.
Mind only remembers just a very, very small amount of that. And the subconscious is busy tracking and keeping track of all the things. It's quite amazing. And God created our body to heal and restore. And the subconscious mind, it's running on the programs it's been given. And those are, I'm very visual, so I like to give analogies. So bear with me. But have you ever had that computer where you turn it on?
And boy, does she like to give analogies. I mean, she is not joking here. And I don't think analogies are necessarily bad, but I think that we have to look at them as exactly what they are. They're an analogy. You have to play the comparison game actually with them and go, okay, how similar is this to the original story? A lot of times they'll use it as a strongman fallacy, as something to distract you from what the actual point of the matter is, that we are not computers. We are human beings. We are beautifully made, of course, by the big old God. Okay, but there's a lot going in there. And so just saying we're like a little piece of technology is, I think, undermining the human experience, in my opinion.
And then next thing you know, it's crashing or it's freezing or the loading thing is just spinning, and it's like so frustrating. And then just imagine that you were able to take that computer to a computer expert, and that person looked at it and said, well, yeah, it's got outdated programs running, it's got some malware going on, some faulty programming, and you'd be like, not surprised, but how are we going to fix it? And what if they said, yeah, just pay me some money. I'm going to go uninstall the malware, the faulty programs. And then what if?
Pay me money. Pay me money. Oh, and she charges a ton for her grift on top of Norwex, which we will go over.
When you got that computer back, it wasn't glitching out. It wasn't freezing. It wasn't spinning there in the processing mode, but it worked the way a computer's supposed to work again. That's really how I feel about the work that I am blessed to do in helping people identify and uninstall faulty programs, malware, if you will, just old, unhelpful stuff, clutter. So if you ever go,
I would venture to say that most psychiatrists, most therapists, most counselors who have the proper education would never claim per se to be able to fix you. They can't magically, like a computer, fix you so that you work correctly again. That's not how it works. It's not how therapy works. It's not how any of this works. A lot of times too in therapy, you're also getting education and tools in your, little tool belt so that you can better handle the future as well, not just impacting the past. And for me, I'm looking at her and going, what are your qualifications? What makes you think that people should come to you with that very sensitive, very vulnerable information? And what does this have to do with Norwex? Her entire page on YouTube is Norwex, 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 Norwex. Why this video? Why is this here? Oh, we'll find out. And it has a tie-in to Norwex, I promise you.
Go through life and you just feel just like massively overwhelmed. Like I just can't. You're not alone. I get to work with
I'm going to speed it up because she is just taking her precious time.
hundreds of people, and many of them have felt that just extreme overwhelm. I don't know what to do. I don't know where to turn. I've got no bandwidth. And what I've learned is, going back to the computer analogy, is have you ever had where you go to save maybe you did a movie or a picture on your phone or on your computer and it says out of space and you have space issues? Well, what I've learned is sometimes our subconscious gets that way. It gets so cluttered and filled up with the screenshots of memories and just stuff that it doesn't need anymore and is actually slowing down and taking up space. So with the work I do, I'm getting to uninstall and clear out some of those unhelpful memory emotions. Now, this doesn't change your memory, right? Like you still remember everything. It just takes the charge off of it. So very often what happens is on planet Earth stuff happens, right?
Once again, the analogy's going too far. We're not humans. We don't run out of space. It can feel overwhelming. Life can feel overwhelming. But who is she? She's saying, I like to help these people. You could be doing more harm than good because you do not have, from my understanding, any kind of licensure to give you the ability or authority to help people out in this way. But of course, she's a wellness coach. This whole coaching thing that has gone out there in the world is ridiculous to me. I would rather them say, I'm your wise friend, okay, than calling themselves a coach. And there is a level of self-importance, arrogance, if you will, to think that you have any special sauce to help them with this information, I believe. Because as much as we can be a good friend and help others and be wise, the education to not just be able to do that job, but also to determine things like, is someone a harm to themselves or others? What things are red flags? When do I need to alert someone? Are they a mandated reporter? These kinds of informations are extremely important when dealing with people's psyches that primarily the professionals will be able to do. Not some lady on YouTube and Facebook trying to sell you some cleaning cloths.
We work with other humans, we do life together, and sometimes it gets a little messy. And so invariably, maybe you felt hurt or were hurt, or maybe it was a physical accident or abuse. It can be anything. It could be you falling off the bleachers on a 5th grade choir concert and feeling absolutely humiliated and embarrassed, and that can get stuck. And you can haul it around with you, that same feeling where when you think of that moment in time, you can just still feel the embarrassment as if it just happened right then. That's because your subconscious doesn't know the difference between right then or the time you bring that memory up to mind again. And that means that something got stuck. Now, here's the deal about, let's call them negative emotions. But actually, emotions are just, I like to think of it, if you're driving a car and one of the check engine lights come on, that's not.
Oh my God, another analogy. We're not cars, Sonia. We're not cars. We're not cars. We're not computers. We are real human beings. And I want to put it out there. She sounds kind. She sounds well-meaning. She sounds like a great human being. I'm not trying to say that she hasn't helped some people, but there are dangers involved when messing with this kind of stuff with other people. But it doesn't matter because she has an ulterior motive.
Not a bad thing. That's just giving you a signal like, hey, we need some attention over here. And what we're taught to do, most of us, maybe some of you had really amazing parents who were helped you feel all the feels and you never, nothing ever got stuck. But very often we're taught, just throw some tape over that. It's never a super great time to be angry, feel like you're taken for granted or betrayed. Like, when's a good time to really process that? And most of us don't have like a therapist to talk through, 24/7. So that's where stuff gets stuck, is we stuff it.
The therapist is not designed to be our BFF for you to talk to all the time. They're designed to give you tools so that you can go about your daily life without needing to call a therapist 24/7. They're helping you process things, understand things, analyze things. I will give her that I do think it's incredibly valuable to any person, whether it's a parent or not, to provide space for not only kids, but also just your friends and family member to feel all the feels. I have always felt this way. When I was pregnant, I was not reading What to Expect When You're Expecting. I was reading a ton of books about just caring for a child. I have a more Montessori approach, Waldorf, if you will, and most importantly, and the number one that I have followed, has been resources for infant educators, also known as RIE parenting, RIE. This type of parenting is also known as respectful parenting. You can look it up. It's very similar to gentle parenting, but there are tons of boundaries. So when people are like, gentle parenting, like red flag, you're gonna, raise a little, look it up before you say one thing about it to me. I have a little TikTok about it, but essentially it is, you are the leader, you are creating boundaries, but they're a fully autonomous human being. I've talked to my daughter in a regular voice her entire life. I have asked for her consent literally since she was a baby. I said, may I change you? I'm going to change you now, keeping her actively involved, all those things. But going back to what Sonia said, is that I have provided her space to cry, to be sad, to be angry. If you're angry, we don't hit others, but we can hit pillows, we can scream, we can cry as much as we want. We can do all those things. So I do think that that's valuable, and I think all too often people are told to push their emotions down. And I think that it's extremely valuable as a non-professional. Remember that we allow others the space to not just be happy-go-lucky all the time. I think that that is one thing that I totally agree with her on. And once again, I don't make these videos so that I can harp on these people all day. That's not fun for me. What I'm doing is for consumer protection. And I'm going to put it out there right now. This is a perfect place for me to do it. She is charging people $2,000 for this course of hers. So she might seem, oh, so sweet, and oh, I just want to help you out. But give me $2,000 because I'm the computer building expert. Ridiculous.
It's like throwing duct tape over the dash or the dashboard of your car. That's not quite right. But just let's cover up the warning lights. But really, these emotions are meant to be felt, to be experienced, and then to move through them to the other side. But when they get stuck, they literally can be stuck for decades. And so by going and working with you, with your subconscious, being able to just find it, unpack it, clear it out, it's amazing. Now, a lot of people are like, how do you do this, Anya? So I'm going to give you a little bit of my background. I am a physical therapist by training. And so as a physical therapist, I did muscle testing to check for people's strength and things like that. And during my physical therapy career, I actually did continuing education on applied kinesiology. And that tends to be a little bit more in the chiropractic realm. But I grew up and my grandmother was kind of a health nut. I blame her for why I'm very, very health wellness oriented. I say blame lightly. I love that about her. But she was very health conscious. And so way before it was cool, she would go to this health food store, and the store owner knew how to do this applied kinesiology, where she would like press on my grandmother's arm and say, do you need this supplement? And then it'd be a yes or a no. And do you need 3 of them, and so forth. And what she was doing is, in essence, using strength to get an answer from grandma's subconscious mind. So it was a way for her to see like what grandma's body needed, rather than just saying, here, take 6 of these. So this has obviously been around a long time. What I do is I use the muscle testing. I do it virtually to basically follow where your subconscious goes. And when I'm working in this process, I really feel like, I feel like it's a sacred space. I feel like it's so beautiful to watch the unpacking of things that have been holding people sort of hostage or captive, paralyzed, feeling stuck, feeling unable to achieve what it is they really want, and just feeling hopeless and helpless and all the things. And even those of us who feel like we've lived such a blessed life and we have so much to be grateful for, I have not met anyone yet who doesn't carry some of this stuff and who doesn't benefit from clearing out the clutter, right? It just opens up more space.
So she's saying everyone should pay me $2,000. Obviously she's not saying that, but that's what it sounds like to me, of like everyone could benefit from this. I have no idea about per se what she's talking about, okay? But there is something to be said for whether or not a profession is offered by your insurance. Now, there's also something said for, I'm sure pharmacy companies want to keep us sick, and I'm sure that's the most profitable for them. So I like to draw a very fine line of being respectful of alternative medicines and the value that they can bring. In fact, my dad did an alternative medicine after chemo did not work. Obviously, he tried chemo first. But I am very hesitant, especially when you're putting such a high price on something that may not be tested to the levels in which it can prove that it is genuinely helpful. In fact, let's do a little chat GPT just to see what we can pull up on the World Wide Web about this blah blah blue blue. Okay, so I didn't know how to spell whatever she was saying, so I literally typed in, what type of practice is it where people press on parts of the body to determine what supplements they need? This MLM Hun said it was a way for the body to subconsciously tell us where issues are. And it said what you're describing is most likely called applied kinesiology, often dressed up with phrases like muscle testing, body wisdom, or subconscious communication. What it claims to be is the idea that your body can communicate health issues through muscle strength or weakness. A practitioner presses on your arm or another muscle. If the muscle weakens, it supposedly means you have a deficiency, a supplement is needing, a food is bad for you, or an energy imbalance exists. But here's my favorite part of obviously the information. Because my ChatGPT has been built brick by brick by me, okay? So it knows exactly what I'm looking for, and I specifically said MLM Hun. So I want to make that clear that my ChatGPT is biased, but it is going to give me information pulled from the World Wide Web. It is not evidence-based. It's not a diagnostic, it's not reliable, and it's not reproducible. Controlled studies on this method show that muscle testing results change on how pressure is applied, expectation of the tester, suggestion, confirmation bias. In other words, the tester, not the body, determines the outcomes, often unconsciously. So it's Sonya's subconscious that is judging people with no information other than feels and vibes. The feels and vibes. Sorry, not sorry. That's on you, Bookie. Now, it does say that some licensed chiropractors may be taught this in school, but it is not acceptable as a diagnostic tool. It should never be used to prescribe supplements, and most ethical practitioners explicitly state its limitations. Wonder if she's going to do that here.
It opens up more bandwidth. It opens up that ability to take action when you clear out old beliefs that somehow said, I can't, I'm not good enough, and all this stuff, which, goodness knows, I've cleared so many of those from myself. And the freedom in that is so incredible. So that is the work I do. I do it through muscle testing and just love helping people unpack things that in many cases were really never theirs to carry. They picked it up often young. And actually we find that even babies in the womb can pick up emotions from their mother, from the surrounding around them. So like literally sometimes things are passed along generationally, and being able to.
Where are her facts? Where is her, check the link down below for information regarding, how this works. And let's give her the benefit of the doubt. Let me look at the description of this video. It says, have you ever felt no matter how hard you try, something keeps holding you back? That's not laziness or lack of willpower. It's old programming running in your subconscious like malware. Here's the truth. Until you unload the baggage and reset those beliefs, you'll keep hitting the same walls. That's why I've helped women clear the emotional clutter and install new, life-giving beliefs so you can finally live aligned, free, and blessed. If you've heard about emotional healing and belief work and wondered if it might be a good fit for you, this video will be helpful. And then find Sonya's introductory 12-session package at, here's the website. This is a sales pitch. And ultimately, she is pretty much saying, I just like doing this, so I do it. Yeah, absolutely love to be a doctor. Doesn't mean I can. It means I'd have to go through a lot of schooling, and I don't have time, and I don't have money, and I don't want to do that. No, thank you. But just because you love doing something doesn't mean you're qualified to do it. Sorry.
To be part of the process. Again, I just feel like God's hand is all over it, as he is so integral to me. Like prayer and his help is just so huge, but watching him remove the things so that you can step into the freedom and the calling and the purpose that he actually created you for. So that is what thrills my heart. And again, thanks for watching the video. If you were a little bit curious, like, okay, is this a good fit for me? Here are what some of my clients have found. And I've done hundreds of sessions, and watching the breakthroughs is just beyond thrilling for me to see that just by not carrying around that stuff anymore, it frees up you to be who you're really called to be. It's so beautiful. So I've had clients who had physical symptoms that have resolved, myself included. Now, this is in no way a medical claim. I'm not a medical doctor, and this is not to be construed as a medical treatment. However, when the body has less resistance, it's able to do what God created it to do, which is heal and restore itself. And so it just helps the body stay healthier in my experience. The number of people who've come in and started working with me and have just felt so either overwhelmed or just really stuck. Maybe they had success in their business and then they just hit a wall. Different areas of coming in, feeling anxious or feeling like fear.
Did you hear it? That is our first sprinkling in. We're at 11 minutes out of the 16-minute video, and there's that first sprinkling in of what ultimately this video is about. There's two things she's trying to accomplish here. Number one, getting your money from Norwex. Number two, if you can't make money in Norwex because you're part of the 99%, that's okay, because she'll do some muscle testing to help you release some of that so that you can have these breakthroughs in your business. Because who knows who this lady is? Norwex reps. That's who knows who Sonia is. I've never heard of her, never seen her until, boop, Norwex popped up. So all of this is to get you to be a part of her downline. And then when you inevitably can't make any money at Norwex, because we just saw our estimated income disclosure statement that, 98% of people are hitting zero. They're going to just make $0. Okay, I guess you got a free cleaning kit out of it, but it even says on their thing that only 54% of those who applied for it got it. So even that, you're not guaranteed to get. But once you inevitably hit a wall, you can come running to Sonia to check your muscles to see if you need some offloading by someone who has no license to go through any of this information with you. In my opinion, she shouldn't be doing this. And she's labeling herself as a coach, so she legally can do that. But there are concerns. There are huge red flags when it comes to someone offering this type of level of help and what the claims she's saying. And although she's saying it's not a medical claim, it doesn't matter whether you say it's not a medical claim or not. If you are saying it helped heal people, that could be seen as a medical claim, whether you say no, it's not, or yes, it is.
It really has too much space or just whatever it is. The other thing that it has helped a lot of people with is relationship. And that is beautiful. That's kind of like one of the side benefits, I feel like, is just how when we help clean up, take the trash out is another one of my analogies, is when we live on planet Earth, we're going to have some emotions. And we want to process them and feel them real time so that they don't get stuck. But in the human experience, we pick up some stuff, right? And it's just kind of like at our house, we've got a family of 6. The trash accumulates. And if we didn't take that trash out, it would be very unhelpful and quite nasty. And so I love, it's almost like taking out that unneeded trash and keeping everything functioning better. So I love helping people in their businesses. Of course, as a business coach, that is something that I work with a ton of people who are wanting to grow their business, increase their income and that sort of thing. And I feel like this work is hugely helpful in money mindset and all of that as well, of course. Relationships.
Oh, wouldn't you know it? This is extremely helpful for a money mindset. Oh, we love to hear it over here. No, Sonia, what you're doing is a grift. It's a grift. You are targeting Norwex employees who are your audience into paying you additional money to help them with their business mindset. So not only are they losing money on Norwex, they're losing money by sending it to you. Even if you say that it's helpful, I consider that a loss because that is not rooted in education. It is not rooted in proven facts and ways that we can do stuff. If it's not covered by your insurance, let's double check it. Do I think more things should be covered by insurance? Absolutely. Do I think that, once again, there's lots of alternative methods out there, but I have never once, and I know lots. My mom is a huge one for alternative medicine. My biological father was also a hippie. I mean, hippity dippity. So we don't want to completely knock those things, but we also want to be honest, transparent, and very clear about what it can and cannot do. And ultimately, it sounds like it can't do anything, in my opinion.
Even things like food cravings and strange things like that often tend to shift when we realize how much of that food craving was actually had an emotional or a belief tie. And then when we can release that, we release things like that. So if you're not sure, I just encourage you, give it a try.
So of course she's going to throw in, if you are struggling with some type of food relationship issue, this could help out with that. Because what is most likely the gender of her audience? Primarily women. What are women constantly told that we need to focus on? Our weight. How much the scale says. And so she's going to sprinkle in something that helps with the insecurities that are put into our brains, not by us. I don't think by us, to be honest with you. Nobody would care one thing about what your body looked like unless it was posted everywhere and doing all the things. Anyway, I'm just saying that was, for me, once again, beautiful face. She's so kind. She's so sweet. And I'm sure a lot of people will say, Kayla, you're like the worst Christian. You're always feisty. You're always mean. You're always whatever. Because I don't come off like her. Guess what? I don't want to come off like her. Because she is lying behind a smile. She is not saying her ulterior motives directly to your face. I have said this. I actually have another TikTok video about it where I said, I'm a beezy. Okay? You know that I will tell you the truth. And that means if I say in the video, I use the example of a purse. If my friend says, hey, I'm thinking about getting this purse, I will say to them, Bookies, weren't you just complaining about not being able to pay your bill? Like, don't be buying another $400 purse. You don't need it. And you have plenty. Like, knock it off. I will also say, oh, girl, get you that purse, Bookie Schmokies. And if I say that, you know it's honest. Because whatever comes in my mouth is as honest as I possibly can. And that means raw human emotion. That means I can't be perfectly serene all the time. I'm not like that. I'm sorry, not sorry. That's not how God made me. And the Bible doesn't say change your personality. No. And although it might not sound like I have the love and grace, this comes from consumer protection. This comes from a place of wanting people to not fall for things and wanting people like her to stop. And just to be honest, she's around here, she's worshiping, she's coming out with books about the Lord, she's doing all of these things, but she won't stop scamming people for money. And I'm not even talking about her little blop, blop, blop thing, her little muscles. Okay, I'm talking about just Norwex in general. Norwex is a scam, in my opinion. By you encouraging it for years and years and years and years and years, you are allowing a scam. And by your own public imagery of being a Christian, of, wanting to better people, of wanting their money mindset, yada, 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 by doing that, you are essentially omitting important, valuable information that the average consumer should know before joining an MLM. Which means to me, in my opinion, you are deceitful and you are a scammer. Does that mean we all know in the B-Blade, there are people that have done far worse that end up being very valuable and very crucial figures inside the Bible and so well respected by not only people, but Jesus himself. So I'm not saying that they can't not do that. I'm not saying any of that. So I'm feeling a little defensive, and maybe that's because I'm playing a little bit of a comparison game right now to Sonya because I'm not, perfectly, love, grace, and I come off as a little spicy, but I want you to know it's coming from a place of love and consumer protection and wanting the best for people because it's not okay. Hurting people in this way is not okay because it's so much more than just money. So much more. And if you don't believe me, watch you some horror stories. All right, let's go.
Right. So I do these sessions one-on-one, and it is, I invest a lot of my time helping people with this, and I believe it is just something so pivotal that I can help people with. And so you can buy one session at a time, which is awesome. I think it'll be worth every penny, but you are going to save when you do the package, and I have an introductory, very low price actually on that 12 session package happening right now. So if you want to jump in and do this, what I find is that it's kind of like an onion. Life happens in decades, right? Years and decades. And so things go down in layers. So in this work, we get to kind of just peel off the layers. And then there's less layers and there's less layers. So it is a cumulative work. And also the body, after each session, the body has a newness that it gets to process like, oh, wow, I've hauled around that anger and bitterness since I was 3 years old, and now I don't have it. And so your body needs a little processing time. For most people, I would say 2 to 3 days is typical for processing. And then that integration period of like, what does this look like to function without all the baggage, without all the faulty systems, programs, malware. And so you can use those 12 sessions closer together. That would probably be my personality, especially in the front end, is to do more sessions close together. And then I love to have the sessions for upkeep. Again, just like a monthly session, because you'll be amazed. You'll really come to love this. Now, this worked to me. My assessment.
How much you want to bet that there is a level of pressure where she tells them they need to keep coming back? There's more. And especially with the, to be honest, the wee-woos of the let me test your muscle, I would assume that it'd be rare for people to be knowledgeable about this and what to look for and what to expect. So she can really wee-woo her way around 12 more sessions, 12 more sessions, 12 more sessions, 12 more. I feel like we're, reaching a breakthrough. Oh, looks like your 12 sessions about to end. You want to renew? You want 12 more? And what if you purchase 12 sessions and you're like, I don't really vibe with what she's saying with me. I don't think, her telling me like I have an iron deficiency. Yeah, Bookie, like, duh. You could tell I bruised, when I poked myself. Like, I just can very much see this as when in private, and a lot of times they save it for private sessions, there's a very calculated maneuvering and manipulation going on without them even realizing that says, come back for more. You need more. I need, to help you more. We're just right there. I can see a million things being used. And even the way she's talking about it, just like the, oh, you're going to need 2 to 3 days to like decompress and like all that stuff. I can already tell that woo-woo energy is there. And so I honestly don't think I'm super far off. This is all my own opinion. This is all alleged. I have no idea if that's what she does, but I can definitely see that happening from how she's talking about it and the type of thing that she's doing with them.
Of it is it feels like years of therapy condensed into a very much shorter time frame, which I'm all about because I'm a very practical, I like to be efficient person. And I also, here's another thing I really love about it is I'm very private. It's just a big deal to me, confidentiality and privacy. And so the idea of going and spilling my guts and reliving traumas and even talking to a therapist is just not my thing. And what I love about this work is that you don't have to rehash the trauma. You don't have to relive it. You don't even have to tell me or practitioner what happened, okay? So you're welcome to if that helps you process. Some people do, some people don't, but literally most times we do not need to get into the nitty gritty. We'll find it and we'll be able to clear that without having to deep dive it all over again.
Has she even been to a therapist? I don't think so, to be honest with you guys. I do not think so. Because the way that she's making it sound like therapists are going to force you to rehash something you don't want to. Never have I ever been to a therapist that did that. Unless you went to, what do they call it? Those sessions in which they like essentially put you in a trance and you're able to, relive stuff. You guys know what I'm talking about, I think. I hope. But that is not what therapists do at all. In fact, if you want someone who's private, someone who is required by law to not divulge your information, you should go to a professional, not some lady who could absolutely go and gossy-wassy to her friends. Okay? So that is so far off, it's not even correct. And if you think that if you go to therapy, you are going to rehash harmful, terrifying stuff, you don't. You tell the therapist what you're comfortable with. You tell them what you need, what you're looking for. They will help you maybe see some things that you didn't see, but they will always gauge it based off of where you're at, what you're doing, your emotional stability, and so much more. So I hope that nobody has that fear. I hope that she's not putting that fear into anyone, that you have to rehash painful, traumatizing, horrific things. It is not like that at all. So please.
Which I personally find extra amazing as a super private person myself. All right, please, I am excited to connect with you. If you have questions, you can reach out to me directly. You can also find me at all of my details at my website, sonyaeckel.com. There you'll find some more details on my work and explaining the different levels of my certifications and how I can help you at a lot of different levels when we work.
So I was interested in that very, very last part where she said she shows her different levels of her certification. So she says, go on to her website, look at her certifications. Okay. I did that. I don't see nothing anywhere. What certifications do you have other than the fact that you're, freaking whatever, chiropractor, whatever the heck? Like, there's nothing there. And I looked at every single one of her social medias. I watched multiple different things because sometimes I'll say it at the very beginning. Hi, my name is so-and-so and I'm a blank, blank, blank. None of that. So she's essentially, by saying that, in my opinion, making it sound like she is more than what she is. That's just my opinion. It might not be true, but she doesn't have any additional certifications listed on the website that I could personally find. So, anywho, I thought that was so interesting. And, once again, this entire thing was because someone did a good deed, right? And I'm not trying to take away from that. We need more people in the world like that. But when it is someone who's doing it with the money that they, in my opinion, stole from thousands and thousands of people, I've got a problem with it, and I'm not going to be silent about it, and I'm not going to say, oh, well, that cancels out her one good deed for a stranger, cancels out the 116,876 strangers she has associated with her company that she has her face plastered on a compensation plan in which it's encouraging recruitment. It's not okay to me. It's not okay. Let me know what you guys think. I would love to know. Per usual, my comments are where the party's at. We have the best combos in those comments. I'm having a blast. I'm having so much fun. So thank you again for watching. Please comment. Let me know what your thoughts are. Do you think I'm getting defensive and in my feels about not being and looking like a Christian that looks exactly like her? Once again, I'm not trying to compare myself. I'm totally kidding. But at the same time, I gotta be aware, and when I pick up on those things that I might be doing that's not so good, not so healthy, I'm not perfect. I make mistakes all the time. So anyway, I appreciate you guys so much. You guys have an amazing rest of your day, and thank you so much for watching. Bye.